You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry.
Today's guest is Angie Wolfe. Angie, certified at the professional level of APMP, is a creative and analytical proposal professional and business owner with 18 years of experience at large Fortune 500 companies in business development and marketing. Based in Denver, she started her consulting firm, Ideas at Dawn Marketing Consultants, in 2019. Ideas at Dawn brings large civil engineering and construction firms a competitive advantage with their proposals to win more work without adding more payroll. These services include proposal management, writing, editing, graphic design support, and training to meet the increased demands on the proposal staff. Welcome, Angie, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Hi, Ashley. How are you?
I'm doing well. So if you've listened to the podcast, you know we love to start in the beginning. So we're curious, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And where did you go to school?
Okay, so I was born in Columbus, Nebraska, which is about an hour and a half west of Omaha. I grew up there for my entire life, for all the way up to high school. And then at that point, I decided I did not want to stay in Nebraska with everyone else and go to college. So at that point, I applied everywhere to every other school and went to the University of Kansas in Lawrence. And let's see, after that, actually ended up back in Nebraska and for work when I started with Kiewit and have been all over the US since.
Oh, wow. So was that your first job after school then?
It was, yeah. I started as an intern in their corporate marketing business development department, which doing their, their corporate magazine. I had a journalism major coming out of school. I started there, which also happened to be the same group that also did proposals.
So is that how you entered the proposal world then?
It is, yes. A couple months. So I was doing both jobs, both working on the corporate magazine and then got involved in proposals, doing editing, coordinating, all of the entry-level coordinators type activities.
Wow. And so did you move on from that organization to support proposals at other organizations, or how did that go?
Yep. So in a few instances, I was there with Kiewit in a various roles and grew up or really went through the evolution of whether it's a proposal specialist, coordinator, whatever entry-level role you want to call it, up to proposal manager. Then at one point when I was in California, I decided I wanted to get back to Colorado, close to my family. It was quite expensive living there. So that's when I left Kiewit for a while, went to HDR engineering in MWH for a little bit. And then, so that was again at a proposal manager role, and then both at like a national level within both of those firms. And then Kiewit decided they wanted me back. It was a different group. So Kiewit is very decentralized. So it might as well be different companies throughout the US because you just can't transfer within the company, at least at that point. So which was kind of frustrating. But anyway, so I was so I joined them after about a year hiatus, going elsewhere in the industry, and then moved around a few more times, left them again when I went to Kramer, North America, based here in Denver. Actually, they're based in Wisconsin, but have an office here in Denver. And left again for a little bit, and then was recruited back for would this be, I think, the third time, to lead a special project internally. So So then after I left the fourth time, I'm not keeping count. That's when I started my business. So.
Okay. So over the years, I'm sure you have some memorable proposals. Any that stand out to you?
Yes, the biggest one is it's here in Denver. It's the East and West rail line, or it was called Eagle. So it was the rail line that went from light rail, actually not light rail, heavy rail, that went from Denver Union Station all the way out to the airport. And that proposal was, and at the time I was also pregnant. So that duration, funny enough, in addition to giving birth to a child, I also gave birth to a proposal during that time. So it was about 9 months long of proposal, and was ginormous. And at that point, so I was actually just talking to someone about it yesterday. It was, my goodness. One, it wasn't page limited, which was not to our advantage. It was, I think, 6 volumes plus.
Wow.
That did not include the design or the small business pieces of it. But we were in the bus barn of Veolia at the time, which is now Transdev here in Denver. So we all centrally located. So it was a P3. So we had our financial firms there, our design partners, our construction. It was a big internal joint venture, so there was lots of other people, but there was a core team of us based here in Denver. I was I would call it step down from the proposal director. So I was leading everything, led the formatting. This was when we, within Kiewit, we still did everything within Word. So I managed that process. But it was funny towards the end, people would always, so that was the most memorable. But people, when I was, there was bets on when I would give birth, and they had like backup plans internally without telling me on what happened if I went into labor early or at the office or all of this. And so, and then also at the end, there was some managers, like I had a month to go, but they were concerned I was going to give like labor or give birth then. And just because I was so large, I guess. So yeah, that was for sure the most memorable. But it was the nice part about it. We never had to worry about food. We had food brought in every day by our food superintendent, is what we would call them. So that was managed. So yes, it was lots of long hours, but lots of interesting and good memories along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like those types of proposals are becoming few and far between these days. You don't get everyone centralized. You don't get all the food brought in. So it's fun to hear some of those stories of the past for sure.
Yes, and luckily our clients have gotten smarter and they're not as big either. And now, thank you to COVID, we don't have as much of a production effort either, which has also been a blessing for sure.
Absolutely. I am happy to see fewer hard copies for sure.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey? You mentioned kind of the timing, but tell us a little bit about your business and what inspired it and kind of how your business has evolved.
Yeah. So I started it 2 years ago. So somehow I came across an ad for, her name is Lauren Golden. She's branded as the Free Mama. And so she helps moms set up, not knowing what this was at the time, Ashley, but she helps moms set up their own businesses and doing freelancing. And so I took her course, went down multiple avenues in the beginning on what should I do? Should I do proposal consulting? I was burnt out. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want the stress of it anymore. The deadlines, all of that piece that comes with it. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can just be a virtual assistant or do one interesting thing that I did at Kiewit is I managed their data management and systems processes for 4 years. So I had a little break in there of doing proposals on the side. Within Kiewit, when they needed me, I got pulled in. But so I attempted or considered doing that piece. In the end, I stuck with proposals, moved forward, did more also of the marketing, social media. So what your internal proposal manager or marketing team could do at a smaller firm or would be doing. So that's what I had started out. And when I kept going down, so I reached out to my network. I was doing at the time both jobs in order to grow a business. One thing unique about my situation is I am the sole earner in my family. So with 2 kids and a husband, I can't just walk away from a full-time job without having something there.
Yeah, right.
So did that, networked within my own LinkedIn and other folks that I had known that either left Kiewit or other people. So had some work on the side. So that was a little exhausting. Looking back, I'm not sure how I did it, doing 2 jobs essentially, and helping run proposals for multiple firms. So I went through that process for about, 6 months. And then I wasn't mentally in a mindset perspective, I wasn't committed to the freelancing piece. I thought that it would just fall out of the sky and I would all of a sudden have clients, which did not happen. You do have to put forth a little bit of effort and work. So at that point, I committed to a business coaching program and set a pretty hard, so this would have been the last year I was at Kiewit, set a goal of leaving in April. This is also when COVID was occurring. And so my goal was April. I ended up leaving in July. So not too shabby, but during that time frame, got more clients, build up my network more in order to say, okay, it's time to go. We build up our reserves within savings, which was a big part of that security blanket. And the other thing I did, which was more for a peace of mind for my husband, was I was also interviewing with other firms to determine, okay, do I really want to do this? Is this something that I want to do? Like, do I want to do the business owner and the business development and all of it? And so I was interviewing other firms as well and decided that, and this was not like now when it's a pretty hot market. 2 years ago, it wasn't like that. But either way, decided just to go out on my own, hang up that shingle, make it known that what I was doing. And it has evolved since then. I started out doing a little bit of everything. So social media, proposal management, writing, editing. It has evolved to, I don't actively go after social media clients or just content. Now it has evolved into a turnkey proposal management, and then also now training. I'm getting ready to do my first training here in 2 weeks. But obviously, if my current clients need some of that, I would do that, but that's not something I'm actively going after.
Right.
And the other piece, which has been very interesting, Ashley, is I was convinced 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, when I started my business, that I did not want a big team. I did not want a lot of people. I just wanted to do my own thing. Sounds like burnout again. Right. But what has happened is I got, thanks to the universe and all of that awesomeness, the first 2 months after I quit Kiewit full time, I got signed on to a project that lasted for the next 5 months.
Wow.
And it was a bigger bigger proposal. It was 2 volumes, 100 plus pages. So a pretty big effort. And because of that, I had to bring on people. I could not do it myself. And so it just naturally evolved in the first 6 months that I had to find a team to help me do what I had to get done. And I have continued that philosophy. I have a team of around 8 proposal consultants that work for me, and then 3 graphic designers, a strategy person. So being able to provide that one-stop shop to my clients has something I have evolved into, although I didn't want to do it in the beginning. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting how it just kind of on your first project necessitated that team, and it's just kind of stayed that way and kind of driven what you're delivering now, right?
Yes, completely. Now I have brought on another person, execute person, who actually I hired 9 years ago. So a couple of people on my team I hired when I worked at Kiewit and trained them, and they both are no longer there, and they're on my team, which is really interesting. But so brought another person on full time, and she is a client lead, so working directly with clients. And so then one of my goals, because I'm a part of another coaching group, is to work only 4 to 6 hours a day in my business.
Wow.
So that's both on my business and in it. So doing both the administrative business side in addition to client work. And so the more people I bring on, the better I can do that. So that is my goal. I've been pretty successful with it. I have good days and bad days, but if I look at a week, it's been pretty good. We're getting ready for a big heavy push through probably the end of the year with client work. So yeah, that's been my goal, and I didn't realize it was a goal until I started this coaching group at the beginning of January, and that's been really interesting now that I look back. That I would have never thought that would have been a goal of mine, is to have a team and work less, but life changes and your priorities change, and it's been a fun ride so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope one day to have a goal of working about 4 hours and having a team that supports the rest of it. I'm sure Bhaskar can relate.
Yes.
Totally.
So
I'm nodding my head ferociously here. Yes.
All right. So I think that's a great transition over to APMP and digging into that. And Bhaskar has a few questions on that side for you, I think.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Chastity. Angie, it's just amazing. A transition from a full-time job into being an entrepreneur, and then moving away from being a freelancer into building up team is it does take a lot of strength, and I wish you, everybody around you, to give you all the strength to do bigger and better things, Angie, even before we move.
Awesome.
So yes, on the way, thank you, Angie. On the way in this journey, at what point did you come across APMP as an industry body, and talk us through any associations with either the chapter or your first meeting with Bitcoin here and there?
Yeah, so APMP, my goodness. I know I became a member back when, so one unique thing I did at Kiewit is I helped them start up their current proposal management group that's based here in Denver. Before it was decentralized within all of their offices across the country. And I was employee number 2 in that group behind the director that started it. And as part of that, we had this vision of involvement within APMP, whether it was SMPS or other associations, DBIA. And at that point, that's when I joined APMP. I can't remember if I had been member off and on before then as well. So this was also, my goodness, was when I was in Albuquerque, because I remember going to some meetings, but like every other busy proposal professional, you just don't make it a priority at that point. And so it was going to some meetings for networking, for meeting other folks. So that, my goodness, Basker, when was that? That would have been probably 3 years before then. So this has been almost, oh my goodness, probably 10 years ago. Which is a long time, it seems like. So that's when I had been active with them. And it's always been APMP, never other associations. I've always found the interest in the proposal side of it more important than the marketing or other piece. And part of that was I never did that really internally with my job. So that's really the biggest when I started with APMP was when I was in Albuquerque. And then when I started as part of this group, being involved with APMP became a bigger role. There were some other folks also within this team. So it started out to be about 10, 15 people within this group. And so there was some folks internally within inside of Kiewit, but then also we brought in external or hired external people. And within that, there was a couple people that were active within APMP already. And so being exposed to that in other people was one thing that I think motivated me. Kiewit as a whole also, although you had to get approval, would pay for your association fees and meeting, so going to conferences. And as part of that, and being in a leadership role within that group, I joined the Colorado chapter, and I was their marketing director for a year. And what's interesting is that the president at the time was also worked for Kiewit, but she was there for about a day. Funny enough, funny story. She worked there for, I think, a day. And but otherwise I knew, that's how I actually knew her and got to meet her because I did her onboarding. But so that's how I got involved, was doing the marketing director role. We did a couple conferences locally within the Colorado chapter. So there was a space conference down in Colorado Springs, so represented the association down there. And then let's see, after that, that would have been also the first year I would have went to a conference. So that was out in Seattle. And it would have been, my goodness, 6 years ago. And the only reason why I know that is as a family, we road tripped it to Seattle, sightseeing along the way, stopped in Yellowstone, and it was before my youngest was 1. That's the only reason why I know, and he's turning 7 this year. So that was my first conference, and it's been hit or miss since. And part of that is the getting approval internally within the firm was a struggle to pay for that membership. When the group got bigger, they wouldn't pay for it and that sort of thing. So, or it was just one person and getting that justification. So I usually always had the membership. We would as a team watch the webinars and that sort of thing. And so this was the time when I was in charge of the data, the systems within this proposal group. And so I would communicate and attend the webinars and go to the national conference. It was about every other year, and communicate the best practices that I had learned and invite others. If this was when we were still in the office, but invite others to attend the webinar with me if they could, and that sort of thing. So that's been my journey now it's just been a bigger piece of my entrepreneurial journey at Bhaskar, and including APMP and SMPS in that space. SMPS is just there for the networking piece here locally within Colorado, and in other locations, but APMP is still focused on the proposal side of things for me, and being that unique component to what I do.
Wow, that's a very, very interesting story. I think it's all amazing how it all starts with somebody whom you know and a conference, and it comes for the whole cycle, Angie. That's brilliant. And by the time the recording hits, the MAC conference would have been done, and you would have spoken there already.
Yes.
Any few words about the MAC conference and your topic and bits and pieces, so that people can catch up on the podcast as well?
Yeah, so it's me and how many? I think there's 4 other proposal consultants. We're talking about getting into what our life is like in the consulting world. And there's quite a few of us. This was led by Karen Kent Dean in her vision, and which I know you have talked to her as well, and including so by her vision, and which actually it was interesting because I have actually worked for her as well, and helped her with some of her client work. But when I saw, so last year it didn't happen, and she had proposed her talk last year, and this year I had saw it on as an activity or as an option on the APMP Denver conference as a topic. And so I had emailed her, I'm like, hey, did you want to do this? I'm like, I saw this and I thought of you. It was super interesting because she's like, I've already applied for that one, and I'm just going to do it again for Denver because last year we were virtual. And so I went with, got into her team of, I think there's 4 of us total now, 4 or 5. And I hope you guys, had learned all about what life is like as a consultant. And obviously, if you're interested in getting started, I've converted a few people, including the one I just hired, and has joined me for the most part in a larger role and is my client lead. I helped her walk through that journey of going from a full-time employee to a consultant, and obviously have done it myself. And so I got 2 down, so to say, Bhaskar, and I always will, especially with moms and anybody who wants that freedom and just the corporate life. You love proposals and you love what you do, but the corporate life doesn't bring that balance that you need. And so that's one thing that I will never convince anybody not to be a consultant, for sure, and that just helping them along the way. And so that's one reason how I built my business also, Bhaskar, was that it's really focused on giving people another, whether some of them are, doing as a side gig or it is their full-time adventure, so to say, but helping them along the way and being more than just someone that, hands them an assignment and gives them a check at the end, that it is a journey and helping them, mentor them along the way and through that process. So that's what I hope, we did in Denver and at the conference, is inspire others to do what we're doing. It sounds like it's a bit of it can be very scary though, but you have to get past that fear and work through the courage in order to get to the other side of the rainbow, so to say.
Well said, Angie. I think you kind of nailed that point really well. And yeah, totally. Karen is a very good friend, more than a friend she's like my sister. And so yeah, I mean, like, we'd love to come on board, watch your Mac thing, and I'm there, but I'm at the very end, and I have a boring topic, but it seems much more exciting, which is good. I think continue to inspire people, and I know we talk a lot about proposals and your passion on the other side, but let's talk more about you in the next 30 minutes, Angie. I think tell us 3 things not many people know about you.
3 things. I was a foreign exchange student in Australia for 6 months during high school. Let's see. So that was awesome. I was in Melbourne. Then the other thing is I am one of 10 children. I am number 9. No, we are not Catholic. Yes, they are all blood relatives or blood siblings. So no, we are not Amish or any other religion. My parents just got married early and continued having kids. Let's see, what else? One other thing. One other thing unique is that we love to travel as a family. That whether it's by road trips, cruising, airplanes, and then related to that, one of my goals is to visit all of Hilton's inclusive hotels. COVID has put a little damper on that. Hopefully we'll get our first one in April. But otherwise, yeah, that's one of my personal goals and challenges.
Wow, that's amazing. I think yeah, totally. This 18, 19 months, I still can't believe we call it COVID-19 and we are about to finish 2021. You know, it's 2 years have gone and pretty much washed out of most of people's life, and it also removed many people's lives. And 100%, I think travel is big on everybody's agenda, totally. To, travel to boys sounds handful. I have 2 boys as well. And I know what that means. But yeah, I mean, like, is there any place that you have in mind that, absolutely, other than the inclusive hotel that you talked about, any areas that you would definitely, it's now gone top of the agenda? It's a must place to visit in the next 12 to 18 months for you?
Yes. So we have we were going to go, oh goodness, right after the MAC conference, we were going to get on like the week, and we were going to get on a Disney cruise. But we just canceled that. We decided we didn't want to deal with what the fall plans or the pandemic's fall plans for itself are. So we're trying to figure out what that looks like after the MAC. I have a week of vacation. I have nothing on the schedule. So not sure what that's going to be, but that will be the next trip to somewhere in the US. Our family loves warm water and beaches. So ideally it is that, but we're being a little flexible. One of my clients is in Yellowstone, or up in Montana and Bozeman. And we were thinking of going up there, but not sure where that next one is. But after that, we have going to Gulf Shores, Alabama in January. Then we have another cruise planned on Disney in February, end of February, right before spring break in March. And then April, we hit our first inclusive hotel. So check one off the list. Luckily, Hilton does not have a lot yet, but in Cancun. And what's interesting about that is I am not, going to Mexico is not high on my travel list, but it's a running joke within the family that my husband's like knows I'm desperate to travel when I have Mexico on my list. And so right now we're going there in April, and then trying to figure out what May brings for us. We were looking at going somewhere, goodness, where, we were going to look at going to Dominican Republic because my oldest son graduates from 6th grade this year. And so I was convinced to have another reason to travel in May. And so we were thinking of going somewhere then in May to celebrate that and moving on to middle school. But we'll see where that where that all goes. My husband says that it's traveling too much, that we can't go every month. And I'm like, well, I guess the kids and I will go if you don't want to go. Or I'll take volunteers. My sister has volunteered, or one of my sisters has. So if my husband, doesn't want to travel, I'm sure I can replace him with somebody else.
Ooh.
I know, right?
Listeners, watch that space.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad that my God, I just asked the question, thought you'll say one day, but looks like you've mapped out an entire travel plan, which is great. It makes me feel like totally irrelevant here, which is good. You have inspired me, and many of us have we know that we need to go somewhere, but with the way things are moving, with whatever you call it, phase 3, phase 4, and vaccine boosters, so and so. I mean, like, it's all like, at some point we all need to be normal. But thank you for that,
right.
Angie. So yes.
That's my way of maintaining some positivity and some motivation to be like, okay, I have this planned, but obviously we're flexible. And what's interesting, originally when we booked that cruise, Beskar, we were going to go on in October, we booked another trip. That's when we had like, okay, we don't know if the cruise will happen, so we'll book a backup trip. And we have a backup trip planned to, where was it? Yes, to Dominic. But little did we know that you cannot book 2 flights to the same location on the same airline, or not the same location, different locations, same dates, or otherwise the airline will, their computers will automatically cancel it. So we had flights booked to Punta Cana and then also to Orlando. Well, the airline canceled our Punta Cana. We're like, okay, that's all right. We'll just keep the hotel. Little did we know, we should have canceled the flight to Orlando instead, because and not knowing obviously if any countries are going to be open in October, but now it's a little bit more expensive. So I don't think we're going in there either. So our backup plan failed. Our plan B did not work. But now we know for next time that we will book keep the more expensive flight. And so yes, if you do what we're doing and have multiple flights booked, don't do it on the same day, because your airlines will cancel it.
That's a good advice, Angie. Good advice. Officially, let's enter the Nutters round, the rapid fire questions round, all weird questions, but there's no sense behind it, but we might get a different flavor of you on that as well. In honor of Forward Nut, a rapid random fire question begins. So, what's your favorite Disney character?
Oh goodness, Moana.
Moana. Why?
She is a spunky, driven, confident woman.
Nice. How about a Marvel character?
Oh, Marvel? Goodness. I don't know. I just saw Black Widow. She's pretty awesome. So that was a good one. So when we go on the cruise, I was going to dress up as Captain Marvel, who obviously is one of the newest women. Yeah, I think it has to be one of the ladies I have to give shout out to.
Got it. So assuming you are a Black Widow or a Captain Marvel for a week, Angie, what do you think you would do?
Oh my goodness, what would I do? If I was Captain Marvel, I would fly without being in an airplane. So that would be awesome.
Exactly.
And so I'm sure Marvel would have some sort of jetpack that we could take from Tony Stark.
100%. Why not?
Right? Exactly. So yeah, that would be probably the biggest thing. Yeah, something adventurous, which is not something I would usually do. So yeah.
Totally. You imagine the cost of travel for you now. You don't need to book any flights, and you just
go wherever I want, right?
Exactly. Nice. So Olympics just finished. Hope you watching few sports. But if you could participate in Olympic in any sports, what sports would you choose and why?
What sport in the Olympics? We're watching this show, which I don't know if it's in the Olympics. It wouldn't get TV time, was tetherball. It has re-sparked a little internal competition within my family. I have accused my husband of cheating, that he doesn't know the rules. And another show that we're watching right now on Disney Plus, I forgot the name of it. Anyways, they have a competitive tetherball team. So I think that would be something. I'm not very athletic by nature, but I think I could get my arm strength going enough and some techniques to do tetherball.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Definitely. So, wow. So, assuming you're traveling wherever you're traveling, but you're only allowed to take 3 things with you, Angie, what are the 3 things you would take with you?
Besides my phone, I would take, so I have my phone, I would take my journal. Let's say probably a water bottle with a filter.
That's a sensible version of you coming along, which is good.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So, so what's an ideal weekend for you, Angie?
An ideal weekend. Not what I've been doing recently, because I've been going through a big push, getting my training done. So obviously more balance. So no work. It would involve me and my husband walking the dog in the morning, then cooking breakfast for the family. I would be in the garden at some point, usually in the morning, either when it's warm or cold. The garden's been a bit of a hot mess right now. I have not been in it. So, so in the garden, outside, walking the dog. What else? Playing with the kids. Whether it's a bike ride, we just got some new RC cars, so that'll be fun. So we've been taking those out on the trails and to the park and those sorts of things. Also, probably doing something activity-wise. So whether my family's into a bit of aviation geeks, all 3. So both my husband and the boys love airplanes, love military things, and all things military. So it would probably involve something with that. If it wasn't very stressful, which traveling can be, every weekend it would be nice to just get away. So quiet time. It's not that way now with a household. What do I have? 11-year-old and soon to be 7. So similar, and boys. So although they are not girls, boys are just as loud, and my 2 talk just as much as your stereotypes when it comes to girls. And so that's, really my ideal weekend.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Perfect. So if you could transport back in time to the past, what era would you go, or what year would you go, and what would you do?
Wow, that's interesting. I would go back to when my mom and dad were alive. So when they were growing up, so this would be 1940s. My dad grew up right after the Depression or right during that time. And there's stories of them having to sell their farm and what they had to eat. They had no food. They would have to kill crow and have that. So just being going back to then, and his parents, my dad's parents, died before I was born, so I never got to meet them. So being able to meet them as well, and they would have came straight over from Germany. So they migrated. So just being able to understand what that looks like and who they are, and how both them and my parent or my mom's side, what life was like. So I would say like early 1940s.
Nice. That's interesting. Very good. What's the naughtiest thing you have done at school?
Oh my goodness. Naughtiest thing I've done at school. I was a good kid, Bhaskar. What are you talking about?
I don't believe that for a second, Angie, but that's okay. Okay.
What naughtiest thing? The only thing I could think of right now is, did I cheat on a test? Might have tried to cheat on a test by looking at somebody else's. What else?
That's normal. That's not naughty thing. It's totally normal.
Oh, good.
Totally normal.
Naughtiest. I was not a naughty kid, Bhaskar.
Okay, got it. I take that, and I assume listeners will accept that in face value. But
Right?
I might need to come back to you on this few years later. So, but
Okay.
that's good. So, what song do you listen to frequently, or do you have any playlist that you always listen to?
I do not. It's been lately, I'll be honest, it's been usually because music is on throughout the house and I have children. The go-tos have been usually a Kids Bop version of the latest songs. So it's a clean version, and that's been the latest. I usually like some upbeat pop music to keep me going. Otherwise, it could be, depending on the mood, Darius Rucker. He's one of my favorites. So yeah, that would be the other one.
Got it. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
Wow. From a life perspective, let me think. So when I was growing up, although there was a ton of us, I was number 9 in the list. No one else before me went to college. It just wasn't something. So internally, I wanted to do that, to be different from my siblings. And I had a brother who was pretty successful, didn't go to college, but had his own business. So that inspired me to, I think, knowing that at that point, my goodness, 40 years ago, but that, or right, college was 20 years ago, 20 plus, but and that was what you did then, was, you had to go to college. And so knowing that I wanted to be different and provide my parents with something else too, and be different, and have a life that wasn't always concerned about the money and when it was coming in, and all of that piece. So that's my biggest life. And now obviously it's my husband, my kids, keeping me motivated and with my business and continuing to grow that. And then career-wise, my goodness, it has to be my first, I would call it, he was the department director when I was at Kiewit, with my first job. So his name is Greg Teets. He was in the industry, oh my goodness, long time. Engineer by training, got into sales and marketing. I think he's a mining engineer. So he really changed my direction and my goal, that I wasn't just going to be a marketer or a writer or an editor or a proposal manager. That really drove in that you needed to learn the business, really get to understand construction, get to understand the team, know how the construction side of the business works. And that's has stuck with me. It's things I have taught people I have hired. And yeah, so that's been I think the biggest career influence so far.
Totally. I think at this point we have to talk few lines about your husband. Poor guy. I think he's. I think he deserves few lines as well. I know he's there. But
Yes.
talk me through about your husband.
So he's a stay-at-home dad.
Mm.
He's been taking care of the kids in the household and all that goes with it so my oldest is 11. So for 11 years, he's been, now that both kids are in school full time, he runs the dog and the rest of the household. So I don't have to worry about it. That I can manage my business and run my business, and meet my clients' needs. It's been nice though, now that kids are in school, and being able to, when I don't have work or I decide, like I talked with Ashley, that I'm not going to work on client stuff or business stuff today, he and I will go out for lunch or go to the movies during the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, and being able to go through that change in lifestyle. It's been something that we're both have slowly been getting used to and having that flexibility. But he loves traveling just as much as I do. And it's interesting when I look back, so we've been married 12 years, and looking back, dating him, it was a pretty short requirement list in big picture, but it's interesting now how our interests are very similar. We're very hippie-like, eco-conscious, solar, green energy, save the planet, let's not all die. In addition to, we love to travel, which is not very eco-friendly when you think about it. But just the adventure that comes with it. So yeah, he's a pretty awesome guy and great dad, and the boys love the airplanes and the fun that comes with dad, for sure.
Totally. It's totally. And I have a lot of respect for people who stay at home so that the other person can go and do whatever they want to do. Again, that's a big sacrifice. And we can be whoever we are today. It's because somebody behind keeps things safe, keeps things going for us. And a lot of respect. Nice person, definitely. So from then on, let's talk a little bit more about what's the common myth that you think in our profession that you want to debunk? I think you already shared a lot of things already, but if there is anything specific, you can talk us through on that as well.
The biggest thing is, especially as women, we get viewed as admins, as assistants, as people that can do a little bit of everything. So just, and not that it's a myth, but just that giving other women the confidence, especially earlier in their career, to set those boundaries, and that we're more as marketers and as proposal managers, more than just admins, that we do a heck of a lot more than that. And in building our value, I think it has gotten better, at least in the firms and companies I've been with. But if any company is new to the process, they will probably undervalue the level of effort, the value that comes with someone just having that expertise in getting them across the line. So that's the biggest thing, is that, obviously we internally know we're more than admins, but just being able to do more than that. We're not a bunch of word editors or, whatever word that you can come up with.
Well said, Angie. Well said. Angie, I know you are big in self-development, self-improvement, etc. Which is super, especially as an entrepreneur. Now there is no day. You have to create your day. And then secondly, the motivation is, you have people behind you, people above you, with you, etc. So how do you motivate yourself on a day-to-day basis? What one advice would you give any prospective entrepreneur like you?
There's a couple things. So one thing, I'm part of another coaching group. It's called AMP Platinum. And it's with Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who's is he like an organizational psychologist, I think? Anyways, as part of that, we have to read usually like minimum of 2 books a month. And one of the early books that we read talks about prioritizing your day and about the 3 frogs and about setting up that priority, both with a morning routine and evening routine. So that's one thing that has been crucial for me in maintaining my motivation, is having a plan. So every day I end the day with gratitude and a plan for the next morning. We then, I text my accountability partner, and then we report back to each other how we did that next day on our 3 frogs. So that's been keeping me motivated. They're both work goals and or personal. So it's whatever 3 things push me forward in meeting my 3 goals for the year. So I also have 3 goals, overarching goals. And so yeah, that's been having a vision, having a plan. I never had that as an employee, is having that overall vision and plan for myself. Yeah, we did our annual training and planning, but it was never big picture enough. So that's been one thing, that it comes down to the daily and evening routines, and that motivation just to keep going, and then meeting those yearly goals I have for myself.
Nice work, nice work. Perfect. I think we are at the end of the episode, Angie. So what are the immediate priorities? What are you looking forward to in the future?
What I'm looking forward to. So my goals for this year is to get in shape, look good for this vacation in October, that I have no idea where we're going, but that is an immediate goal I have. I just signed up with a personal trainer because what I was doing was not working. So that's like the next sprint. So the next quarter. So that's an immediate goal. Personally, to get down to working only 4 to 6 hours in my business and having it bring in enough income that that we can live like we have been. And then the other thing, immediate goal is to, as it relates to the training I'm doing, which is for more entry-level proposal staff, is to bringing on 2 salespeople. So growing my team from that perspective, spending more money, and bringing on 2 salespeople to help me sell that training so I can continue with my client work and also do the training. So that'll be the next big push over the next 6 months, and who knows where it goes after that. But that's been the big push. And then funny enough, Bhaskar, the goal I don't have it as a goal, but been working internally with my mindset and other things on being more visible and more vocal with what I do and what we do in the industry. So that is although not a goal, it's something that I'm working through and working on over the next 6+ months. So between the SMPS conference tour and then APMP conferences and that effort. So yeah, just being more vocal and visible with training and communicating everything I know.
Perfect, Angie. That's really great. I mean, like, wish you all the success, that personal growth and also the company's business growth as well. It's amazing. And we are doing the podcast at the right time. Definitely, that will also enhance your reach a different level as well, more as a human.
Yes,
and
for
when
sure.
people like you,
Yeah, exactly.
people like you, they'll buy you. And I'm sure everybody love you from this episode. So that's great. And before we end, is there any part of your life or career, or is there anything else that you would like to share to the listeners?
No, I gave my whole life story, I think. So yeah, no, it's been a fun ride. I couldn't have figured out or planned the last 2 years. So who knows what life will be like in October, or even next year. So yeah.
Got it. Perfect.
Enjoy the ride for sure.
Yes. I deliberately didn't ask you why 46 hours. I will leave that to the listeners to come and ask you in person. So that they could reach why. I leave that curiosity open there. But that's great. I mean, like, having a structure definitely helps. And leave that with you, Angie. So on behalf of me and Ashley, so thank you so much for joining today. It's been an absolute privilege to have you with us at Scribble Talk. Wish you, your family, your colleagues, and everybody around, the clients, everybody, all the good health and happiness. Stay healthy, stay happy, and looking forward to catching up with you at Denver and or even before. Thank you, Angie. Take care.
Thank you, Bhaskar.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.